All right, welcome back to Down Pat. This is episode number 6, and we are here to talk some Patriots football. And we talked about it last week. We were able to watch one of the most anticipated and I guess, talked about regular season games of pretty much like all time of at least recent history for sure. It was Tom Brady making his way back to New England. So we're going to get into that today. We'll talk about how Mac Jones played. Obviously, there's that big storyline too about Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. What could that conversation have been? They've been kind of pitted against each other. We're going to get into all that on today's episode of Down Pat. But we do have some breaking news, and I guess it's unfortunate for the Patriots because it's been something that they've struggled with. But Jake, what is that? What's that breaking news that we're dealing with now?
Well, the line, which has already been decimated with, I wouldn't say decimated even, just Trent Brown being hurt, but just been a poorly performing unit, now has Isaiah Wynn and Michael Owenu on the COVID list. So most likely they're probably out this week, and hopefully that's just a 1 week thing. But that line's going to be even shakier on Sunday for Mac.
Adam, this is literally something that we talked about. How it was like this is one of the best features of this team. It's one of the worst
I
features
said
now.
it. I said before the season, I said this is their best unit.
Well, you
It's
jinxed
been the
it
worst.
then.
I know.
No, I think we said the best units were the offensive line coupled with the running back depth. And and the running back
Why
depth,
listen to this podcast?
if we're looking at the running back depth now, Sony Michel's in LA, James White's out for season. You have Damian Harris, who looks kind of banged up. JJ Taylor now can't hold on to the ball. And your rookie running back who scored 5 touchdowns in the preseason has not played since since week 1 and has five snaps all year. So yeah, not to go into that, but what we said were the strengths are becoming the weaknesses pretty fast.
But so that is the breaking news. I think that I don't even know what to say about the line because it's kind of already like even with them healthy, it's like was that a good line? Like okay, so now we just have some other Joe Schmo filling in there, and it's like okay, well you go from someone that maybe could have been someone promising in your line to someone that definitely is going to let them through, but it's like that line was still getting blown by no matter who was underneath those shoulder pads.
No, yeah, I honestly, I look at like Isaiah Wynn being out for a week, and I'm like, okay, so Mac Jones has 2.5 seconds to get rid of the ball, and now he still has. Either way, it's like a turncoat at left
Right.
tackle right now. So it's like, either way, he's getting rid of the ball pretty quick. We can't run the ball regardless. So I don't know. It's not. I don't think it's as big of a deal. It's probably we'll see this coming week, but
I feel like
hopefully.
they have to give Juice an opportunity at this point. Like he's got to be better than Durant or like I mean, if Trent Brown's back, you probably slide Brown maybe to left tackle, Karras at left guard. But then I mean, I think we've seen enough of Heron and Durant to know that they're not viable options as a tackle in the NFL.
Yeah, and they're not getting better. Like
They're
it's
not
not
getting
like
better.
oh we can
No, it's
build
not.
on this. It's like no. But I will say,
No.
with more guys going down too, they are playing the Texans. So obviously we'll get into that game preview today. But it's like it's not the worst game in the world to be out a couple guys on the COVID list. You know what I mean?
Yep.
All right. Well, we do have, I guess, I think we can definitely say that this is positive news, though, right, to talk about here. So the the Patriots are bringing
Wow.
back Jamie Collins.
Yeah. That'd
What
be
do
a
you think
crazy
of that?
signing if the Celtics brought him back. That'd be interesting.
Celtics could use him
Um,
too. A little physicality.
Yeah, I think it's a good move. I mean, third time's the charm with Jamie Collins. I think he's kind of what they're lacking a little bit. Someone that's explosive in that front seven. Definitely better than I'm blanking his name, number 48, Tavani, who they have. The guy they signed from the Lions is that next linebacker. I kind of feel like they're lacking like a playmaker right now, like in the front seven besides Judon. So like maybe like Collins gets an extra turnover or makes that sack that they desperately need. Like I feel like they're lacking that playmaker mentality right now, which cost them a couple games.
I was going to say one thing I remember about Jamie Collins. I mean, obviously we all remember is one thing he has a knack for is forcing a couple fumbles. And this team, the last couple of years, has been the worst defense in forcing fumbles in the league. They have been the number one defense in intercepting the ball, but they've been the worst defense at forcing a fumble. And that's really what they
Stat
needed.
of the day, Adam.
Yeah, that is really what they've needed, I feel like, in this first 4 weeks. This defense hasn't been able to really, outside of like the Jets, which I'm honestly counting as that doesn't really even count. They haven't forced a fumble all season, correct? Matthew
No, right?
Slater's got wiped off the board. They haven't forced one fumble all year through 4 games. That's
Yeah,
not
but he
that.
forced that.
He did
He
force
did,
that.
but
He came. That was the one time I felt like I saw Matthew Slater actually connect with
Pop
the guy. I
someone?
love him, but he's
Yeah.
always the guy that makes him pick a side, right? And he
Yeah.
finally just connects on him, but he was
Of
out of
course,
bounds
it's
for
reversed.
150
Yeah.
yards.
But I do feel like a defense forcing a fumble is kind of what has turned. If you're looking at this season, like Damian Harris fumbling that ball cost us the game in Miami. I would argue that J.J. Taylor coughing up the ball cost us a win this past Sunday. This defense hasn't been able to force that kind of turnover. I feel like a fumble is like a more all defensive, like that gets your team juiced. That changes the momentum of the game. I feel like just as much of an interception, if not more. And they haven't been able to do that. Hopefully, Jamie Collins can produce. Hopefully, I'm manifesting a Jamie Collins forced fumble this coming Sunday. So let's see what happens.
Love it.
I would like to see that. I don't think it's not like it's pretty much done, but it's not official, right? They're still working on bringing him back.
But like
But
people have been talking about this for like 2 weeks now since the Collins rumors came out. It's like, all right, well, he's gonna be on the Pats. Like,
right.
one
So
way or the
you got
other.
to get to a point where it's like, all right, where there's smoke, there's fire. I think there's a little bit of fire there. All right. Anything else on either of those two topics? Sort of the things that we found out just before hitting the record button.
Nope.
No. All right. Shall we move into like we said, one of the most anticipated regular season games of all time? Tom Brady made his return. What are our initial thoughts there?
So I was wrong with my Pats winning prediction, but I feel like I was kind of right with my Mac Jones is like that's the game that cements Mac Jones as the guy prediction. I mean, I thought he looked fantastic.
Jake, I don't know. I think Cam Newton wins that game.
I was gonna say, can we get something out of the way? There's a lot of weird people on the internet, like a lot, obviously a lot. I think right now the weirdest people on the internet, and this is saying a lot, is the pro Cam Newton Patriots people. Like, there's a small corner of them that exists, and like, what does that take? Like, what are you talking about? It is the most absurd take on the internet right now, and it's only getting more, kind of more steam because the Pats are 1-3. But it's like, what? Like, how can you rationally sit there and say Cam Newton's a better option than Mac Jones at this point? It makes absolutely no sense.
It's because it's people that I guess probably aren't watching and they just see a 1-3 record, right?
Yeah, but I mean,
I know you can watch one snap and you're like, yeah, I don't think so.
They would get annihilated with Cam Newton that game because they couldn't run the ball.
I mean, Mac completed 19. They had -1 rush yards. Mac completed 19 straight. He tied Tom Brady's record with the Patriots in his fourth game as a Patriot.
In that environment with the rain.
As a true rookie, like he's not having a red shirt here. He's going straight into the fire. But overarching, we've had 2 days to sit on this kind of. What I realized from this game is the Patriot, like this is what we thought last year. Cam Newton, I think, had like 6 games that came down to like the final possession. And we off the top of my head, something bad happened where we lost those 6 games. And that kind of turned the season. This year, we have 2 games where it really came down to like one possession, and Miami and Tampa. And what I'm realizing is over the past 20 years, really our entire Patriots fandom, the one thing that was always in common is we had Tom Brady, and Tom Brady knew how to win games. And I thought like the close game thing was the quarterback, like Cam Newton. And I'm not blaming this on Mac either. I'm realizing like this is a team thing where the Patriots as a franchise have never really had to learn how to win a game without Tom Brady in the last 20 years. And now we all of a sudden have to win those close games, and the team just doesn't know how to do it yet. And it's not on the quarterback. Like, it wasn't on the quarterback week 1 when Damian Harris fumbled, and it wasn't on the quarterback necessarily yesterday or on Sunday either. It's that this team, for whatever reason, they're struggling in these close games. And I think like that is the learning curve. Like that's what we have to see going forward is them winning these like one possession games that come down to the fourth quarter, because they're killing and they're not losing. They're beating themselves in these games. Like they're doing things that are just dumb. And like, that's where my biggest takeaway from that game is Mac Jones could not have played any better. And those are the games you have to win. Because he's, like we said, he's going to have these like rookie games. It's a shame they lost that one. I didn't expect them to win that game. I said I'd be happy if they covered. They covered. I am happy. But I'm a little disappointed in the way that they had Tom Brady on the ropes in that game. That game went exactly how they wanted it to.
Yeah.
And I don't know. There's things that we obviously have to talk about that game. That going for the field goal is one of them. But my biggest takeaway from that game is this Patriots team yet doesn't know how to win these close games. And that's the next step in like Mac Jones' maturation and this team as a whole, is they got to learn how to squeak out a couple wins if they want to see the playoffs, which obviously looks kind of grim right now.
I agree, because we even said it, I think, before the season kicked off. It's like if your rookie quarterback isn't your problem, then you don't have the excuse for some of these losses. And I was like the biggest pessimist over this game last week when we were in the show. Like I wanted them to just get within double digits. They sure as hell did that. But the fact that Mac Jones legitimately put them in positions to succeed and to possibly win that game, and then they don't go and win that game, speaks volumes to the fact that, you know what, just like I said, that rookie quarterback is doing his job. If he can do his job in the situation that he's in, how can no one else, or why isn't anyone else, stepping up like he is? Because if we were to look at, okay, Mac Jones completes 19 passes, right? 2 touchdowns. He had that one fluky pick. If you look at that, you're like, okay, that's what we needed him to do and more against Tom Brady and Tampa, and they still get a loss. So, like, where's that, the void coming from?
He outplayed Brady.
Yeah.
Like he outplayed Tom Brady.
And a Tom
And,
Brady that wanted to, like, Tom Brady came out firing. He's throwing the ball down the field right away,
right,
and Mac Jones outslung him.
with the worst
So-
offense.
We're coming into today, and the story going into this game was Brady versus Belichick, Brady's return to Foxborough. And the takeaway from that game, from just the Mac Jones point of view, is Mac Jones stole the show. The next day, on Monday, were people talking about Brady versus Belichick, or were the majority of like your Stephen A's talking about Mac Jones? Because that's how, like, that was my impersonation. I mean, obviously, people want to know about the Brady Belichick like 20 minutes post game, but the actual 60 minutes that were played, there was way more to discuss about Mac Jones than anything that Tom Brady did in that game.
Yeah, it's I don't know how anyone can argue that. Like, you could maybe look at, like, even that even it's, I know that they kind of blew by it, but Brady setting the passing yardage record, it's like that even got blown over. Like this
Oh my God,
night, like somehow became nothing about Tom Brady, and it was like
They
the
really
show was
blew over
stolen
that.
from
Like
him.
that was
they botched that so badly.
yeah, that was
It was
tough.
so bad.
Drew Brees. I mean, I get Drew Brees was like at home and he was the whatever, but I mean he walked off the field like it was like 10 minutes before there was another snap in that game. I felt like, and Brady's was just like a quick 2-second snapshot and then it was over.
Drew Brees was waiting there too, no umbrella, pouring rain,
No,
probably to
poor Drew
congratulate him,
Brees.
and they did nothing.
Yeah.
Wait, to that point though, I know going into that game, both Brady and Belichick said they didn't want to acknowledge it, and Kraft obviously like went to that. I said this when Drew Brees got that record. It's got to be the dumbest record of like a quarterback stat, the all-time yards record. Who cares? Like, it's cool that he got it. Mahomes is going to get that eventually too. But I look at, like, of all of Brady's records, the yards record to me is not meaningful. The fact that Drew Brees stopping the game and like, oh, I hated that when it happens. I'm happy they didn't acknowledge it that much. It's not a great record in my opinion. I don't look at it. I'd much rather his 7 rings than a stupid yardage record.
Yeah, but now he has 7 rings and the yard. I think that's what it is. It's
For
like
now.
another notch on the belt.
But that
Adam's
record,
right. So that's gonna be a record that like so many quarterbacks are gonna break with just the way the NFL is changing and 17 games, like more turf, more indoor stadiums. Like that's gonna be like 10 guys will have that record. Like
every one of these young rookie, like younger quarterbacks, are like Kyler Murray's, Justin Herbert's, Russell Wilson, Patrick Mahomes. They will all surpass Brady in yardage, and we will not look at them as a better quarterback than Tom Brady. So that's where I look at that.
Look at it, it's kind of like just a strong correlation to the longer you play, eventually you will break the record. Like Drew Brees did it. Tom Brady's obviously still kicking. He breaks it. It's just like it's just sort of an aggregate. Like you could think about it. You play for a million
what's
years.
Matt Stafford at? Like Matt Stafford had, I think, is up there for like mostly 5,000 yard seasons, but it was mostly because his team stunk and he was just flinging the ball around. Yeah.
It's all about the ring. We know that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so kind of back to the Mac Jones stealing the show. I'm with you, Adam, because you listen to, Boston sports radio and then even the national, and it's Mac Jones, Mac Jones, Mac Jones. But there were plenty of, whatever show, if there's 2 people on a show, one person saying, oh, this is great and whatnot, and then the co-host is kind of taking the devil's advocate side of, oh, you can't take a moral victory. They were in position to win that game, and we kind of hit on that a little bit earlier with that 3rd and 3, the tip ball there, and then it went to 4th and 3, and Bill brings out Folk for, I think that would have been like a career-worthy field goal, right? And, where do we come out there? Because I was the guy on the show last week saying that, if they get it within 10, I'll be happy. Like I thought they were going to get it shoved to them. They didn't. They could have actually won that game. Is there such thing as a moral victory, or should the Patriots should they have won that game?
I don't think you take a moral victory when you're going 1-3. Like if the Dolphins Saints turn out differently and that was their first loss of the season or even their second loss of the season, moral victory. But now you're 1-3. Like you're in a really tough spot. I know like you still have plenty of games left and you get the Texans up this week, and so you should be 2-3, but you're not like in the driver's seat for the playoffs right now. So I don't think you take a moral victory after your third loss when you're 1-3. But also, I mean, we'll talk about it later, but I think the other fourth down that didn't go for was worse than the last one.
I was just going to say the exact same thing. I think I want to hear both of your opinions on whether you would have went for it or whether you would have kicked it. But the best, I've heard good arguments either way, but the best argument I heard for kicking the 4th and 3 is, say you go, you're Mac Jones, right? That kick's no good. Mac Jones is coming away from that game confident, right? He did the best he could. He put them in a position where they're kicking for the lead. If he goes for it on 4th and 3 and he doesn't get it, he makes a bad play. That's the play that's going to loom in his mind the next day. Not necessarily the good things he did, but he's going to that might shake his confidence a little. It might be good that your coach let you go for it, but I look at the other 4th down where you ran a Jacoby Myers 30-yard bomb across field to Brandon Bolden. Ran that trick play to Brandon Bolden. Cat's got to be Ramondre Stevenson.
He's gonna be the first guy.
How's the slowest guy on the team right now? It's Brandon Bolden. Point is, how is that play to him?
Jake's texting during that game. I can run faster than this guy right now.
I literally could. He was jogging on that.
But regardless, that play, they got Isaiah Wynn also missed a key block in that play. But that play gets you 15 yards. You're on the Tampa 45, and then you punt. And I'm pretty sure Brady went down and got 3 before half, anyways. But it's why?
At that point?
Yeah, right? It was right before half. Then they punted, and then Brady gets 3 anyways at the end of half. So I think that's how that went down. That's the play where I'm like, that is where you have to let Mac Jones play. The 4th and 3 at the end of the game. Look, obviously the kick wasn't good. Obviously it's in the rain. It's 56 yards. That ain't no gimme for anybody. To Nick Folk's credit, and it's not like when he came out, I thought he was going to come up short. Yeah. So the fact that he got it there. Yep, it hit the left upright. Awful sound, brutal.
The loudest upright sound I've ever heard.
Devastating. But I can't look at Nick Folk and be like, okay, he could have made that kick. When they originally sent him out there, I thought there was no chance he made it. The kick was there, so I can see where Belichick at least did that a little bit. He knew he had it in him. He did have that kick in him. Say what you want. He obviously didn't make it, but it's not like he came up 5 yards short or it was the most abysmal kick you've ever seen. So that gives him a little grace to Bill. And like I said, Mac Jones is still coming out confident. That initial 4th down is, I think, the one that you second guess, though. I agree with you completely, Jake.
Yeah, you got to be the aggressor in that game. I feel like you're the underdog. You have all the momentum at that point. That big play, you pick up that first down right before the half. You get even a field goal there. I don't know. It feels like it swung the game a little bit back towards the Bucs when they punted there. It's all right, we're going to still play our passive, conservative type of game. When really you should have been. And it doesn't add up because you ran a trick play before that. You're pulling out all the stops to run a trick play on 3rd and 17, but then you don't pull out the stops to run a play at 4th and 3, 4th and 2, whatever it was. It doesn't add up. You either be aggressive or
you're not going to be willing to take another chance.
Yeah, why wouldn't you run a draw on 3rd and 17? If you're going to be conservative, run a draw on 3rd and 17, pick up a few yards, run down some more clock, and then punt it. If that was your but you run a trick play, you're trying to pick up the first down. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. Just isn't that one was a little of a head scratcher in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as both of you guys on that one. I think that's just there's so much momentum behind what you're doing right now that you go out there and pick that up. You capitalize on it, and so what? You're near mid. You know what I mean? If you don't get it, there's still time in the game. It's not that big of a deal. That one at the end, the only thing I'll say, Adam, to you, because it's a good point, and I've heard that too, being oh well, you don't have to put the game on the line with Mac Jones. He comes away squeaky clean and confident. He didn't lose the game. I do think that from what I saw in that game, especially and this year, but that game was sort of the cherry on top. Is that isn't a kid or a quarterback that I feel like we had to worry about that after the fact. You know what I mean? I think that he goes out there and say say that 3rd down play ends up being the 4th down play, right? He throws it gets swatted down and whatnot. I don't think Mac Jones is leaving that any less confident. And I almost think he could have that sort of boost of confidence of Bill saying, "Hey, game's on the line, kid. Go out there and do it."
You're a
He would take
guy.
that too.
Yeah.
So I do think, it kind of evens out no matter how you look at it. I still would have, I think, gone for it at the end there. I get it. Like, I think Bill did know best that, hey, Nick Folk does have the leg even in the rain for this. But, it's like, I think that there's a better chance that you complete a 4th and 3, even if Mac has to like do something crazy or toss it up and someone has to make a play on it, than relying on a kick in the rain, no matter who your
Well,
kicker
like,
is almost.
I forget what game it was, but like the difference between like when John Harbaugh asked Lamar, like, do you want to go, Lamar? Remember that clip? Like, Lamar, do you want to go for it?
Yeah.
Monday Night Chiefs? No.
Yeah, that
was it Chiefs?
It was shoot.
Yeah.
Whatever. It might have been. I think so.
Like that.
Yeah,
type
I think
of,
it
like,
was actually.
But I know like Lamar is more established than Mac at this point, obviously, but that type of like trust and like your young quarterback says a lot. And I think like had Bill Belichick asked the same thing of Mac Jones, there's no doubt in my mind Mac Jones turns back and says to him that let's go for it. Like, so I don't know. I just feel like had he made that play too, like you talk about the downside of it, but the upside of he makes that play, they get an extra, they get the first down. Almost
Kelsey,
now you're really talking like
I think they win that game if they get that.
Yeah, I think so too. Like I don't know. I would love to know the odds of Nick Folk making that kick, but it doesn't seem like it's higher to me than the odds of them picking that first down at least.
I mean, you'd be right.
In the rain.
He missed the kiss. He missed the kick. And also, Evan, I agree with you in the Mac Jones thing. The guy's showing so much poise, especially in that game, to do what he did in Tom Brady's return. Also, while he's getting pummeled, took a couple hits in that game, still stands in the pocket.
He stands there and takes it. I give him so much credit for that.
Can I make one more? Like, this might be me reading way too much into this. When I saw that like 4th and 3 at the end of the game and him kicking, the one thing that I thought of, which they're very different situations, but I kind of thought of it, was the 4th and 2 against Peyton Manning, where they went for it to try to end the game because they basically thought punting the ball to Peyton Manning means you lose. And they ended up losing that game. Obviously, we all remember like the Folk, like, was he short? Whatever. We all remember that. And I almost thought, because when he kicks that ball, there's a minute left. Brady has 2 timeouts. Brady needs to go down and get 3 to win. So it's almost like, okay, even if he makes the kick, do we win this game? You give Brady a minute and 2 timeouts. Like, we saw how that worked with Aaron Rodgers against the 49ers. We saw how that worked with Brady against the Cowboys earlier this year. To me, it was almost Belichick saying, I trust the defense. Well, like, he's saying, like, I'm going to take this kick because I think we can stop Tom Brady the way this defense balled out on Sunday. That might be reading way too many steps into it, but everyone came away from that 4th and 2 against Peyton Manning. I remember saying Bill Belichick doesn't trust his defense. Yeah. To me, when he was willing to kick that, it almost said, like, I'm willing to put the game on my defense's shoulders against Tom Brady in his return against Gillette. And I kind of looked at that as, like, Bill at least believes in Matt Judon and those guys. So that might be reading too much into it, but
I like it, but I do think it's different if it's a 92-yard field goal. You know what I mean? It's like if that was a if they were within field goal range, say, I know that they clearly were, but if that was hey, do we go for it when we're on the 30 or something like that, then it's like, okay, now we can kick a field goal and trust our defense. But and I'm not saying that's like your take at. I'm just saying to counter that point, it's like, do you have to trust your defense? You have to get to that point first. You know what I mean? You almost have to guarantee that you're going to be in that boat, in that situation, I guess. But
it's so brutal that Myers was so open on that 3rd down. Like, he's probably picking up at least 12 yards if he got that ball. There was no one around him.
Can I also
actually that real time either? Like, I saw the batted ball and I was like, oh, but then that screenshot surfaces and it's like, holy shit! There's Bucs in like
They ran the exact same play earlier in the game. That was like the slant he had early in the game. Mm-hmm. He picked up like 15 yards on it. Same play, worked the same, just got knocked down.
Also, one point that I think I realized this yesterday, and it made me a little disappointed in the game plan. Nelson Aguilar for the Raiders, played the Bucs last year, went off against them, torched them. I think he had 2 big touchdowns in that game. The Bucs have nobody on secondary. They were down. They had the ghost of Richard Sherman out there, fresh out of whatever he's been doing. Their other corner went down. They had a practice squad corner on the other end. And that shows me not necessarily – I don't know if Josh wasn't calling the play to go deep to Nelson Aguilar, or is it that's what you get when you have that bad of an offensive line, that you can't give a Nelson Aguilar a chance, because he went off. He had over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns against the Bucs last year with Derek Carr. That's a game where I feel like, looking back, the second guess of that game, and I also say this, you got to take some shots against the Bucs, D. That was my one critique of, like, I thought Josh McDaniels called, it was his best game of the year, I thought he called a pretty good game. But the only thing that I would like second guess is we didn't take any real shots.
Yeah.
Outside of like a couple trick plays, there was the weakness of that Bucs defense. It was smart not to run up or try to run against them. I like that he like spread them out and went against the Bucs' strength, but the weakness of that defense was the corners, more so than ever before. And you threw a couple balls out wide. Kendrick Bourne was more involved in the first half, but in the second half of that game, I don't know. I felt like that was Nelson Aguilar. What, 1 catch that whole game? He had over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns against that team. Like, I wish he was more a focal point of the offense in that game, knowing that information.
I feel like it's a mix of 2 things you said. I think it's the playbook is not, and I feel like I'm a broken record. Like, that's my big thing. Like, unleash the playbook and not they pulled out the trick plays. Like, I got my wish there, but let's try and drive the ball downfield. It's almost like brings me back to that when we talked about, I think we even said on the show, but it was like when Peyton Manning and Eli were talking to Brett Favre on the Monday night football cast or whatever, and they were like, Brett Favre, like the offensive coordinator, stopped drawing plays up because Brett Favre was only throwing the deep ball. It's like they're doing the opposite for Mac Jones. They're only drawing up these like plays to go and throw that slant. Hopefully, get some yard after the catch there. But I also think it comes down to the fact that, when you have 2 seconds in the pocket, doesn't matter if Aguilar's a deep threat, he's not deep yet. You know what I mean? Like, Mac Jones is getting pressured, so that could be a huge contributing factor to that too. But I mean, they slowly but surely are getting some of these new names involved, so I think that, it is slow.
Well, tight ends with a touchdown.
Yeah,
right,
exactly.
last week.
Oh, yeah.
So
How about that? If we were to go, I loved that fake handoff.
Hunter Henry first touchdown, big time.
Oh,
yeah, Adam took that. It was nice bet.
That was huge.
All right, well,
that Jonnu Smith one was like, I think that was one of the best play calls of the year. Obviously, like,
that was a great play.
I mean, I guess my question to you is, following that loss to the Bucs, you should feel blank about this team. You should feel blank about that loss. Like, fill in.
You should. I mean, not. I said no moral victories, but you should feel that this is a playoff team.
I think I feel
they're a playoff team.
All right about this team, and I'm not using all right in like a negative sense. It's a matter of, we saw them.
You're Darius Rucker, all right.
Huh?
You're Darius Rucker, all right.
All right, exactly. Yeah, see, I'm just tied to that. But, and then you see them, get spanked by the Saints. It's like, I do consider, I'm okay with saying you get a little bit of a moral victory. Maybe, like, not a full blown, like, oh, like, it's a victory without a victory, but I'm okay with that. But at the same time, like, you parlay this into, if they can go out there and like shove it against the Texans, it's gonna get better and better. But 4 weeks in, 1-3, still losing when I think they could have won that game. I'm still like hesitant to see it. And it's crazy because it has nothing to do with who should be the biggest question mark in the rookie quarterback. Like, that kid's locked.
The Miami game, I said it after. I said, this game's gonna kill them. That game has killed them. That was a win. Damian Harris, it's a win. Also, like, we haven't talked about this enough. We haven't talked about JJ Taylor enough. But we know what we're gonna say about that. But I guess what my biggest, coming into the season, what would we have said is the most important thing of this season? And I would say it's Mac Jones. Is he the guy? Like, do we have a quarterback? That was the most important part of this season. I feel like Sunday night, we kind of already got this for the first few weeks. I feel like it's been cemented, as you said earlier, Jake. We got a guy. He's got fucking balls, that kid. We got 10. I like 10. Now that we have a quarterback, which is it can't be stated enough how important that is in this league. That is the most important foundational block to building a winning team in the 2021 modern day NFL. It's not really winning it is winning on defense, but you're not winning on defense without a quarterback who can still put some points on the board. Now that we have a quarterback, that's kind of now we have to learn how to win. That's like the next step. And we'll see. I mean, like you said, there's not a better landing spot after that kind of tough loss, yet moral victory, than Davis Mills and the Houston Texans.
Yeah. That should be a win.
There's not a softer landing in the league than having Davis Mills and the Houston Texans come to.
We all agree, side note, that if Stevenson isn't active this week, like, someone's gonna freak out. Like I'm gonna freak out.
Yeah,
I'm freaking out on Sunday. Like if that,
something's happening. Like I don't really get it.
Yeah.
Bill loves redshirting the rookie running back.
Redshirt JJ Taylor. He can't do anything right now.
Well,
He
he was
can't block.
redshirted last. He was redshirted last year.
Well done.
He was
Cut
on the
him.
team last year.
Cut him. He
No,
stinks.
I like JJ Taylor. I think a very
No, it's
very
he's
very bad
unplayable.
fumble.
He's unplayable. You're one touch of the game.
All right.
You fumble. You can't. That's
No, yeah,
unplayable
no,
in my opinion.
no. I'll say this: would you rather have if that was Ramondre Stevenson fumbling? We're not saying cut him after this game. That's where it's like we get through. And I know he fumbled in week 1, so I get that Ramondre Stevenson didn't help you in week 1 either. But the time of that fumble—it's not necessarily the fumble as much as the timing. That shifted the whole game from that fumble. But also, this is like I think what showed me Mac is the guy. JJ Taylor, we get to the 28-yard line. That was after Gunner had a pretty good punt return. He fumbles. I think we're up 7-6 at that point. Tom Brady comes down the field, scores a touchdown. That was their touchdown to make it 13-7. At that point, I was watching the game with Jake, and I said, I think this might get ugly. Like I was like that JJ Taylor fumble. Like we were going in. I was like, that's the game. It's over. The second they put up that touchdown, which we knew was coming, we knew Tom was going to make us like pay for that. I was like, all right, it's over. We had our chance. That was Mac Jones responding. I think he went 7-7 for 77 yards. They didn't even run the ball and then I ended in the Johnny Smith touchdown. That was the best drive of the season. That was one of those responses where it's like, I'm gonna remember that. I'm good. That was the drive where I'm like, that is Mac. This is Mac Jones's team. This team has a future. We have a quarterback because you're saying the Cam Newton thing. I know for a fact Cam Newton doesn't go 7 for 7 for 77 yards and respond to Tom Brady's first score of the game like that with that response. So that was what did it for me. That was I wish we got a win, but that was my win. That drive, I guess. That's my moral victory.
They would have lost by at least 3 scores with Cam Newton as their quarterback. At least 3.
I agree.
What would they have done with Cam Newton? You weren't running the ball. He can't throw. It's rainy out. He fumbles the ball like every time he drops back to pass. That's a blowout if Cam Newton's the quarterback. Blowout.
Yeah, you definitely like that. My favorite play of the year so far, that play action to Johnny Smith. What they're doing with Cam Newton, that is getting him in shotgun, getting it, and then Cam Newton's gonna run.
Stuffed by Vita Vea.
All freaking 11 Bucs on the field. They're like, yeah, we know it's coming, and they get stuffed, and they get stuffed, and they get stuffed.
That Vita Vea can play, huh?
Oh, he's a beast.
Yeah,
he ragdolled. Was it Wynn that he ragdolled? He made him look like a kid.
He just shoved him down to the ground.
Yeah. The other one that made a kid look like a kid was Barrett on Durant. Like literally bullied him back into Mac Jones for a sack. Looked like he was on ice.
Well, I do feel like we have to touch on the defense a little in this game. We kind of focused solely on Mac, and there's really not that much to talk about the defense other than Matt Judon.
Come on.
That was good. I love that tweet. That's so funny.
So funny.
That's great. Matt Judon.
Also, his name's all over that. Like, how do you not know his name?
He goes the sleeves. He's got his name on the back of his jersey.
They've talked about him 1,000 times in that game. Like, literally talked about Judon 1,000 times in that game.
Yeah. And I think it wasn't like he's not like a no-name guy either. You know what I mean? It's not like this kid just stepped up today and started playing.
I mean, he's becoming I feel like the heart and soul of this team. That's how I look at him. Also, the other guy on defense that you got to mention, Jake, it's your guy, Christian Barmore.
Beast.
Had a game. He had a game.
He's a beast.
So this is the other thing that I saw before this game a lot. A lot of people are harping on Belichick and his drafts and how he's kind of been missing in the last several years, which I agree on. I'm not going to defend Belichick. This draft class looks like a great one. This is the draft class that this could start the rebuild. And I mean, you got Mac Jones, who I think we all agree we think we hit on that. Christian Barmore was their 2nd round pick, and Christian Barmore, a lot of people thought he would go 1st round. He had a great, he plays great in big games. That was his thing at Alabama. His thing was he didn't really show up that much in the cupcake schedule games, but in the in the playoff games, he was big. That's what propelled his draft status, and he looked great last night, and probably the biggest regular season game in the history of the NFL.
Yeah, he's good. I think my thing with him is he's going to be top 5 D tackle at some point in his career. I think he's that good.
He's so good
And
at the like you just go straight into say like the I don't know whatever who the guy that you're one upping with, and you kind of just play him here right in front of you, and then whichever way say the running back goes, like you're ready for it. That's like
yeah,
such a skill to me that you can kind of be like engaged with the guy, that's almost making the guy feel like he's blocking you. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I got him right in front of me, but he's waiting to go left or right.
and
I
just
saw him do
toss
that
him
a couple
aside
times
last
too, and I was
second.
like that. Yeah, I was like the
Yeah,
fact that he's like able. I don't know. That just I love that.
the sacks will start to come for him too. He's been close a couple times already this season. Like one of those, he's just getting used to the speed of the game. He'll finish up a couple sacks by the end of this year. I feel like.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if
Even
he's
like
like a top lead, one of the leaders in sacks in the team when it's all said and done this season.
Yeah, also someone I thought of a good game. The most I've ever noticed him in a Patriots uniform was Kyle Duggar this past week too. I thought Kyle Duggar looked great. And we're talking, these are the pieces, like when you're talking about this defense, they haven't had a lot of young players on this defense that have contributed over the last few years. They kind of got older, and we knew that they were resetting and trying to get younger, especially on that side of the ball. And I feel like Bill's starting to hit on a couple of these guys, and that is key to the future because obviously you need a quarterback, and we think we got one, but the defense is big, especially in this scheme with a rookie quarterback. I mean, you just held the Bucs to 19 points in a game that I know is raining, but Tom Brady was coming to that game wanting to put up 50. Like, there's nobody can convince me. The way he came out in the first like quarter, even he like could tell he was like,
He chucks it.
yeah. Also, Antonio Brown, thanks. Shout out to you for keeping us in that game. But because that was a dime to Antonio Brown. He dropped that.
That was the best.
Antonio Brown has to catch that ball for Tom. That was a break.
I was even surprised in that moment that they went deep to that same like sideline on two like huge plays. I feel like that was so like un-Tom Brady like, but
Yep.
all right, we do have that last thing to talk about before we get quickly into the Texans. Bill Belichick and Tom Brady have been like pitted against each other absolutely. Whether you're hearing stories about, like they're talking about how the Bucs let Guerrero in the facility and all this, all the way down to, just saying, hey, who's the better one, Bill or Brady? Who's the responsible for it? They both kind of like were pretty damn civil in their like press conferences and whatnot. They were both kind of said the same thing, got a lot of respect for the guy and whatnot, but they met for 20 minutes after the game. They only just like kind of really quickly embraced right after the game, like on the field, and that looked a little cold to me. But then you hear that, Bill Belichick went in and saw Tom Brady and it lasted 20 plus minutes. What's that conversation like? Like, is there anything that we're missing here?
I think just like that whole situation just kind of shows a relationship. Like, they didn't have the big embrace in front of everyone. They had it in the locker room after. Like, their relationship is going to be private. We're never really going to get the full story of what happened between those two. Like, they're both pretty professional in that sense. Well, you get the Wickersham book coming up, but that's the biggest.
I want like a Bill Belichick
load of crap.
They'll do like a 30 for 30. I feel like
they'll do something like like the Bulls documentary. At some point, they'll do something similar to that. You'll get more insight, but I think like they don't want it to be about their relationship. Like, they want it. I think they both respect each other. I think that's pretty clear. Even from Brady's post today on Instagram, like what he said, like respect this guy or something, like such respect for this coach or something like that. Like, this kind of shows like they're not the type that's gonna sit up there and like make a big deal of things or make a big spectacle of things. Like, they handle it their way. I don't honestly I couldn't even tell you what they said in the locker room. Like, I feel like that conversation could have been gone a thousand different ways. I feel like it's mostly just about catching up. Like I don't know, just probably pretty civil, and I don't think anything significant was probably said, but it was like, we'll never know because like I said, I think they're both gonna be really, really private about this going forward. But I don't know.
Yeah, I thought it was great. Like, I think the whole, obviously it was predetermined. Like, when you see them like run to the 50 and give the quickest hug ever, you're like, oh, that seemed cold. Yeah. Now, after like quickly on Twitter, that Bill meeting, obviously that's like, they knew probably before the game, there's probably a text saying like, hey, see you after the game, or even he might have whispered like at that time, like talk to you in like 5 minutes or something. And that was been their whole thing. A lot of these guys like do it for the cameras and they make a big spectacle, like the Drew Brees thing. And that's the thing. Like, I feel like we never had that watching the Patriots growing up. You had Bill saying it was always about the team. he always, they said, made the joke, like he treated Tom Brady like Johnny Foxborough out. Like, but that is why this team probably had so much success. As much as these guys do probably have massive egos, as I'm sure, like separately, like independently, like behind closed doors, like yes, they want to be the best. When they were together, or like they didn't want to be the best kind of to show the rest of the world they're the best. I feel like they want to be the best for themselves, and they don't care about an embrace. They don't care that they don't want the fans to like see that. They're not doing it for us. They're not doing it for the national media, certainly. So that it shows how like genuine I feel like that relationship is, that you're not doing it in front of the cameras, that you're having a 20-minute conversation in private. This isn't like for the cameras. This isn't so like the New York Times and Washington Post can have you like on their cover story, like so the good little picture. Like that's not why they're doing this. And furthermore, like not just Brady and Belichick. I thought the way all of the Patriots handled Brady at the end was pretty awesome. Seeing like Dante Hightower come over like during the knee, like Josh McDaniels, Matthew Slater caught him on the next day on the bus. Like I just thought like hearing those stories about those guys who have been teammates with him for years and clearly know the imprint he made on this organization, I thought it was really cool. So I guess see how like genuine that was. And furthermore, the way the fans handled Brady with applauding him and then like the booing on the first possession, I thought was kind of cool. I would never boo Tom Brady, but I feel like it was in jest.
That was like it was like a cheek boo. It had to be because it was in
exactly. That's what I'm saying. And like I feel like everyone understood that. It was like, we love you. Now we're gonna boo you because it's like game on. But obviously, it's like booing you out of respect. Like it's nothing. There was nothing personal there. There's no hate there. I feel like there was a lot of love within that game outside of the 60 minutes, which I thought came through to me at least.
I feel like he loved the booze.
Yeah, he definitely did.
Yeah,
like he knew what was going on there. He knew it was like he wanted that, right? I don't think he wanted to be cheered like when he's trying to step on the field. Like he wanted the fans to be like, all right, like we're competitive against you now. Like I think he liked that deep down. Like that probably fired him up.
What an absolute lunatic saying like post game, like I might be back here in 4 years. Like you never know. Like what a lunatic. If he plays another game against the Patriots in 4 years from now, well, that would be the most absurd story ever.
I saw on Twitter though that because of that 17th game, they could actually play earlier than that.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's interesting. They have to schedule that out then. That's a game they should play each other like every year if the NFL can make that happen.
I want to give credit to the right person. I think it was Alex Barth on Twitter. But he was like going through the scenarios, and they could actually play, if it lined up well, they could play in 2023 at Gillette.
It's a good point.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, he's probably going to still be playing then. So
he's such a psycho.
I'm telling you that he's not. So
yeah, true.
All right, so we have a couple housekeeping things before we close down, but we'll get out of here quickly. We do have our little pool we got going on here. Jake, you and I got to step it up because Adam's just taking the chalky picks every week, and there's nothing like wrong with doing that. So Adam's now 4-0. We are 2-2. We got some work to do here, Adam.
Yeah, I'm not taking a dog this week, that's for sure.
Yeah, your underdog strategy has not really panned out. But Adam, who do you got? You are 4-0. You won with the Bills. I lost to the Jets last week. I took the Titans.
That's
OT
tough.
lost to the Jets. Yikes! But Adam, who you got? Let's see if you can.
This week we're going with the skull. We're going with the Vikings.
Vikings. They were close to being my pick as well. So throw them in here. That's probably I guess we could probably say that's probably the closest game you've picked so far, right? You think?
It's definitely, especially with Dalvin Cook being shaken up, it's a little bit of a risk, a little divisional game.
I'm with kind of winning. You want to make it a little.
You know what it is? I think Jared Goff is bad, and when I'm taking survivors, I'm going against. I already took I would take the Patriots if I were you guys here, but I already took them. So Jake took them last week. Tough. Yep. I pretty much my survivor strategy is I like to just go against bad quarterbacks. So Davis Mills would be my pick of choice, but I think Jared Goff is bad, and that is my take. So I'm going with the Vikes
because I don't want to. I mean, I was going to take the Patriots even before you said it, so I don't want you thinking that you gave me this pick or.
I don't. It's the right pick. It's the right pick.
No. I don't need your pick validation either. This is my pick. Jake, who do you got?
I got the Bucs over the Dolphins.
The Bucs over the Dolphins. All right.
Yeah, Dolphins at the Bucs. No Tua still. Not that Tua is great, but I don't know. I feel like Brady's gonna Brady's not going to throw 0 touchdowns for 3 games in a row. Like he's going to go off in that game. Gronk's probably still out, but yeah, I think they'll blow out the Dolphins.
I will say the NFL gods could be against you now that you went back on your dog strategy, though.
True.
You
I
know,
don't know.
we'll see.
If I
But
start
all right,
winning again, we'll go back to dogs again at some point. I just need to catch up on that. I need to catch up on Adam a little bit.
Yeah. All right. So again, I'm 2-2. Adam's 4-0. Jake's 2-2. This week I have the Patriots. Adam's got the Vikings, and Jake has the Bucs. Last thing we got to talk about, and I think it's good that we kind of saved this to the end because we have next week's game, this upcoming week's, I should say, against the Texans. I think that we're all anticipating a win here, right? Like Adam, you kind of just talked about why when we were doing this pool pick. What do we expect this week?
I'll say this: I do expect to win. You're going against Bill Belichick versus a rookie quarterback who I actually think Davis Mills isn't. He's just in such a tough situation. That Texans franchise is. We all know the Deshaun Watson situation. That Texans franchise is in shambles. What I'll say is my key to this game is I think it's a 9.5 point spread. I want the Patriots to win handedly. I want this to be a game that I don't want to sweat this one. I also I don't want this to be the kind of win that we got against the Jets earlier where we played conservative. I mean, I did obviously you're not I don't want to say embarrass the Texans. I don't even know if we have the offensive firepower to embarrass the Texans. But this is the kind of game where you signed Nelson Aguilar, Kendrick Bourne, the tight ends. This is the kind of game where you feed those guys and you get them going and you get Mac going. You want the offense to show out. I expect the defense to create some turnovers against a rookie quarterback in Davis Mills. I don't think this game should be difficult. I would be concerned if this is a close game. So I want them to win and win handedly.
Yeah, 100% agree on essentially every single point you made there, Adam. I would say to reiterate on that, can we get some explosive plays on offense? Just that's what I want to see. Like you said, an Aguilar deep shot, for a touchdown, maybe a big run from Stevenson or Harris, something just to show that they have that explosive play in their playbook at some point because they're going to need it down the line. So I feel like this is a good week to kind of open that up, try some new things, and you're not going to be perfect going. You're asking for a lot to go, 7 yards at a time down the field. You're going to need big plays. And so I feel like this is the week that, all right, let's open it up. Let's see if we have that ability. Because if we don't, then we got to figure something else out.
Yeah, it's kind of what I've been probably preaching since we started the podcast, right? If you go up 14 against the Texans, I get it. The smart thing to do is start running the clock, run it out. You have a rookie quarterback at a completely new offense. Try and go up 21 if you go up 14. You know what I mean? Keep pushing it. Obviously, if you get to a point where it's holy crap, Bills territory last week against them, it's all right, we don't need to keep kind of pushing it. But how about you go and do that? The Bills didn't say, oh yeah, 20 points is enough. Let's try and chill out here. They were just no, let's keep going. And that's what I'd like to see the Patriots do. So, but if they go out there and win by 14, I'm still considering that a handily win. You know what I mean? We haven't seen a team that can blow a team out yet, so I'm not gonna put the expectation of I'll go win by 21 points. But yeah, I think I agree with everything you said, Adam, and then you as well, Jake. They have to get this win, and I really do expect them to. I'm genuinely not even concerned with jinxing or anything. I don't think that this is a losable game, just based on the team you're playing. Never mind who you are.
Well, just one last point on that, the Brady dynasty we had, Brady wasn't one of these guys that played down to competition, right? He gets just as fired up for a Texans game as he does against whatever anyone else, a Steelers or a Packers or whatever, a big game. It's can we see that at Mac too? I don't want Mac to be the guy that plays only really well in big situations. This is the type of game where it's almost just as important to come out there fired up and throw the 4 touchdown game, put the fork in them at halftime type of that is just as important of a skill set as the guy that comes out and is fired up in the primetime game. We need the guy that's also fired up at 1 o'clock against a shitty team.
Yeah, it's a good point because we keep talking about how the Patriots, Josh McDaniels isn't opening it up. If Mac Jones is sitting there, mouth shut, legs crossed, being quiet, fine with how Josh McDaniels is running this, that long term could be an issue too. I'm not saying that's the case, but you'd like to see him have that fire of no, let me open this thing up, let's go do it. So, we'll hopefully get that in a very winnable week coming up. Do you guys have any last thoughts on anything we talked about?
Nope.
Actually, I want to put you guys in the spot. Not a Patriots related thing. What did you guys think of the Ravens going for that record instead of kneeing the ball?
I don't know. I think what was the record
Such
again?
a Ravens.
It was like
Yeah,
most
such a
100
Harbaugh,
yards. Yeah, it
such a
is.
Harbaugh move. Just like the preseason crap, like the most preseason, like cool. What? Go hang that in your rafters.
It's the kind of thing that
like,
would never happen anyway. They would never do that, I don't think,
no.
here.
If Lamar was going to set the passing record there, the passing yards, that's the type of team that would embrace that fully.
Oh my god, it'd be a
They
45-minute
they might take
celebration.
a bye half. They wouldn't even play the rest of the game. Like they would go full blown. We saw that. We went to Baltimore. We saw those fans and we saw that crowd and how they do it. So yeah, I think that's so unexpected. Obviously you need it like anyone would, but that just didn't surprise me to see.
All right. I agree.
Good question.
No, I just wanted to hear you say.
Fun fact.
I do, but I will say this though: the Broncos being all like pissed about it, like just stop and then. Like I get like why I get it's an unwritten rule, but don't be like they're really mad. Like the Broncos shouldn't like try to like brawl them and stuff like that's where it's like I think it's dumb. It's a dumb record. Like another thing, it's dumb. It's a yards record. Yeah. All these records, all these things, teams that like it's like the Colts putting up the banner for like winning their division. Congrats, or having like the best record and then losing 45-7 in a playoff game. It's just like it's a loser thing. It's a loser thing to do. That is
it's a loser thing. It's a pat on the back.
100%. All right. Well, we will catch you guys next week. You know, the podcast is slowly growing. We're having some fun, so hopefully you guys are too. We'll catch you guys hopefully on a victory.
Go subscribe.
Week. Yeah, make sure to hit that subscribe button, like the video, and comment what you think of that Brady. Let us know what you think Brady and Bill were talking about. Because like Jake said, that can go in a million different directions. So we'll catch you guys in the next episode.